In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent.
It's time to recognize that we've come to a turning point. We're threatened with an economic calamity of tremendous proportions, and the old business-as-usual treatment can't save us. Together, we must chart a different course. We must increase productivity. That means making it possible for industry to modernize and make use of the technology which we ourselves invented. That means putting Americans back to work, and that means, above all, bringing government spending back within government revenues, which is the only way, together with increased productivity, that we can reduce and, yes, eliminate inflation.
The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Hello, welcome to Inform America. Today is October 7th, 2020, and I'm your host, Rich Merritt. Last week I reached out to people in New Hampshire that want to have a voice, and my co-host today is a New Hampshire resident, Jim Balchunis. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay,
good afternoon.
Good. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you very much.
A couple things before we get started. As usual, I wanted to mention the Boston Broadside. Give them a look-see, see what you think. I think that they're honest people with integrity, and we should give them a chance. Start taking care of the people that take care of us. Tell the truth. Secondly, the nationallibertyalliance.org. Check out their webpage. It's phenomenal what they've done. I've been with them since 2013, and I've been more active in the past than I have been now. I'm guilty of that. But it's a phenomenal organization that's trying to do its best to help people. And I actually had somebody go on my YouTube channel and comment about it, and she went up one side and down the other of NLA, saying that they get millions of dollars and they squander everything. And I'm just saying what she says, but none of that's true. And I'll say this publicly. I'm not proud of it, by the way, but I'll say it publicly. I've been with NLA for 7.5 years, and I think I've given them $40 over that period of time. So they're not getting rich on me, and they're not getting rich on a lot of people. There's maybe 100 to 200 people a month who contribute. The rest of the people don't give anything. So I don't know where people are getting off that they're rich. They need resources. You have to get paid for working. You have to get paid for doing all this stuff, and especially the educational facility they have up there for your kids and yourself. It's phenomenal. Try it. I mean, I can't guarantee that you're going to get your money back or anything, It's not my, I'm not the owner. However, you won't be disappointed. It's extremely, extremely valuable information. So give it a whirl. Thirdly and lastly, I want to ask people if they would support my book. This is the one you get if you go to the website. I'm sorry, not the website. The email address on the screen. Just email me and tell me you'd like to get it. And this is the one you get, the cover that I designed. This is the one that Jeff Bezos designed because he didn't like my cover. So I had to pick something. This is what he picked, not me. Anyway, you can order it on there. And you can get the Kindle books too, by the way. All right, we're going to talk about basically COVID and the effects of it. But I'm going to tip the ball to Jim, and he can start everything rolling here.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you for having me here, and I'm pleased to be here, so thank you, and welcome, viewers. This is the first time I'm doing this, so we're going to get right along. I came here because I'm concerned about the misinformation of COVID and that it's a fraud. I'm not saying it's a hoax because people have been brought to death. There should be a lot of wrongful death lawsuits out there across the country because of it. At any rate, we have COVID-19, and a lot of times people are talking about pathogens, always how you're going to be infected. If you got to wear the mask, you got to do the distancing, all these social ritual things. Let's say the mainstream media or some of the government. So when I say they, that's whom I mean. The government, Main Street media, and the so-called experts that are only pushing half the science. We're all for science, but we want the whole mixture of science together. We just don't want isolated science or convenient science, and that's what's dangerously been put upon us. I'd like to start first with antigens. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I want to interrupt you, Jim, because I was supposed to start with a video, and I screwed up. So before you get started,
sure.
This video that we're going to show is because of all the confusion that we had 4, 5, 6 months ago, and still have today for some people. So I'd like to play that video, and then after that, Jim can pick up, if you don't mind, Jim.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, I really don't understand why everybody isn't following the same rules right now. They're very clear, so let's take a minute and let's go over them again. First, you must not leave the house for any reason, unless of course you have a reason, and then you may leave the house. All stores are closed except those that are open, and all stores must close unless, of course, they need to stay open. This virus is deadly, but don't be afraid of it. It can only kill people who are vulnerable and also those who are not vulnerable. We should stay locked down until the virus stops infecting people. And it will only stop infecting people if enough of us get infected that we build immunity. So it is very important that we get infected and also do not get infected. You should not go to the doctor's office or the hospital unless you have to go there. Unless, of course, you are too sick to go there. This virus has no effect on children except for those children in which it affects. The virus remains active on different surfaces for 2 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours, but in most cases it's days and not hours, and it needs a damp environment or a cold environment that is warm and dry in the air, unless the air is plastic. Schools are closed, so you need to homeschool your children unless you can send them to school because you are not home. If you are at home, you can school your children using various portals and online classrooms unless you have poor internet, more than one child, only one computer, or you are working from home. Baking cakes can be considered math, science, or art. If you are home educating, you can include household chores within their education curriculum. And if you are home educating, you may start drinking at approximately 10 a.m. every day. If you are not home educating children, you may also start drinking at approximately 10 a.m. Masks are useless at protecting you against the virus, but you still need to wear one because it can save lives. And in some cases, it may even be mandatory, but also maybe not. You must not go to work, but you can get another job, at which point you may go to work. Stay home. I don't know how many more celebrities we need to have tell you how important it is to go outside and take care of your mental health. There is no shortage of groceries in the supermarket. There are simply many things missing. You don't need to go buy a bunch of toilet paper, but you should buy some in case you need it. If you are sick, you may go out once you are better, but those in your household, they cannot go out once you are better unless Of course, they need to go out. Animals are not affected by the virus, except for that cat that tested positive in Belgium in February, plus a couple tigers. The number of corona-related deaths will be announced daily, but we don't know how many people are infected because we were only testing those who are almost dead to determine if that's what they will die of. The people who die of corona who are not counted won't or will be counted, but maybe not. To help protect yourself during these times, you should be eating well and exercising, but exercising only eating what you have at home to avoid going to the stores unless you need toilet paper or a fence panel. It's important to get fresh air, but don't go to parks, but do go walk in other places. Just don't sit down unless you are old or pregnant. But if you do sit down, don't sit for too long. Unless you are old and you are pregnant, in which case you need to sit down. But if you do sit down, don't eat unless you've had a long walk, which you are allowed to do if you are old or pregnant, except for times in which you aren't. Don't visit old people, but you have a moral obligation to take care of old people and bring them food and medicine. And finally, no businesses will go down due to coronavirus except those businesses that go down due to COVID-19. I hope this cleared up any questions about what we should and should not be doing during this time. Please educate your friends and family with this information so we can remove any and all confusion surrounding this time. Thank you.
I hope that clears up any confusion that you have. It should, because that's about how crazy this whole thing is getting. But I apologize to the viewers and to Jim, but I'm going to turn it back to him, and hopefully you can pick up where you left off before I interrupt you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. As I continue, please ask people to please recognize, at my age, I'm in the bullseye of this target that they say is of the coronavirus. So what I say, believe me, is not in absence of any health concern I have for myself. And I do have a clear conscience that I do care about my fellow man. But I'm in that bullseye of this target. So I ask, please heed what I say, and please do the research. There's a lot to it. And I ask that people who do research, who may be of an opposing view or opinion, please take a look in the mirror and ask if what you see in research serves you or not, so that when it comes time to vote, you vote the truth and not necessarily any bias you might have about any other information or person who puts information out there. So thank you very much, and I'll continue. I'm not asking for a Zoom or anything, but this is brightly colored. This is the symbol that we see all over the place about what the COVID virus cell looks like. So this is what we see. Okay, so let's remember this. I want to tell you, and people don't know this, but last year, from January to August, which was just before impeachment time, there was a study conducted by the World Economic Forum and other so-called elites who are controlling this entire circumstance. And they coincidentally called it Crimson Contagion. That's Crimson Contagion. I think it's pretty coincidental that this is not red. This is crimson. This is the color crimson. Crimson, like the Crimson Contagion exercise. Please look that up. It was an exercise, for those who may not know, and I'll try to be brief, it was an exercise on how to respond to a pandemic. Coincidentally, this pandemic was supposed to have started from a virus that started in China, coincidentally. And it was conducted through a number of states and cities, and that can be found online, please. Come to find out, very shortly thereafter, we got the announcement of the outbreak in Wuhan. And then, of course, everything manifested from there. Everything was like a snowball from there. So then we come into impeachment time, and I am not convinced that the House Intelligence Committee did not know that this was out there and was already active. From what I understand, there were politicians who were still communicating or traveling to China and back at that time. So, and again, you know, if it's of opinion, fine. I'm just telling you either what I heard or what I look up. And believe me, when I do research, I don't just research. It's not pseudoscience to me. I'm not just seeking science that suits me. I'm looking for answers, and I'm looking at valuable information that I can exchange, and that's why I'm here with Rich today, because I know that we're of like mind and we're of like concern, and we're in the same relative age group where we have seen things transition from times when this country was really more free, and from when JFK gave his speech and then was subsequently assassinated after the fact. So there's always personal care we have to take, so everybody please be safe.
Yeah, if you don't mind me interrupting for a minute, Jim, you talk about the baby boomers, the generation that we're out of. That's the largest generation there is on the planet.
Most productive also.
Yeah, well,
good.
We'll let that one go. But the point is, we are the ones that are affected most by what is happening. And with some exceptions, if there are some people beyond the baby boomers, the World War II people, the Korean War vets, obviously they're affected even more. But my point is simply this. We're the ones that are, the risk is with us more than the younger people. And what I'm seeing, and I wanted to make this point, the government said they're going to come out with 150 million test kits from Abbott Laboratories. These test kits are very simple. As a matter of fact, they demonstrated it right on a press conference. But my point is, I don't know when the government gave them out, when they were received by the hospitals or the states or however they're doing this, but assuming that they've already started, what do you think you're going to see when 150 million people are tested? You're going to see a spike in COVID because those people weren't tested before. Nobody knew if they had it or they didn't have it. Now they're going to know because they're going to be tested. That doesn't mean they're going to die. It simply means they have COVID-19, whatever that is. If they do have that, and I'm not saying they're going to do this either, but this is an opportunity to, if they want to do it, to lock us down again and to put the death knell on the middle class in this country. I've heard the president say that won't happen. They won't let him lock down again. But there are more powerful people on this planet than President Trump. So that remains to be seen. Anyway, I wanted to point that out because people should be aware of it. If you got test kits and people are going to be tested as opposed to not being tested, well, obviously the numbers are going to go up. They're going to know. Right now they don't know. They don't know if I have it or if Jim has it or if you have it. But they're going to know once we're tested, which I'm not going to be, but that's another story. I just wanted to get that in, Jim. Go ahead. You could go take it over.
Yes, I'd like a little footnote here is if we talk about totalitarian governments, authoritarian, take a look who's really trying to change our Constitution and change the way that we vote, what's legit, what isn't, and please, conservative might mean more having to do with the Constitution as we understand it, and left, of course, you have Bernie and the others. However, if we look at totalitarianism, you cannot have totalitarianism as long as there's religion or expressed spirituality. So if religion and expressed spirituality go, that helps get more of a totalitarian takeover. Additionally, socialism, communism, they got to get rid of the middle class. That's a target, and there is a strategy. So please, anybody, when you're speaking with people who may be of or against your point of view or opinion, when they use the term conspiracy theory, a couple of things. It takes two people to make a conspiracy. Two people that plan a wedding, a date, a weekend. You're conspiring to perform an action with a result. So that's what conspiracy can mean, as little as that. Now, conspiracy, let's exchange that with the word, let's replace it with the word strategy, because that's what this is. It is a strategy of those who are more fortunate than we, who want to control everything. So I want to put that premise aside and just get back into the COVID activities itself. Again, we have antigens and we have pathogens. We're always told about the negative. Watch out for this. You might catch that. Well, it works both ways. People can catch antigens, those that heal and fight the illness. Handshaking, well, they say no more, but you have to wonder where that's going. Remember, we transfer antigens. We transfer the good as well as maybe the not so good. Pathogens, antigens, it's a constant fight of life. So please, express the positive and live the positive. It's all transferable, and this is what we have to live with. We're humans. Humans don't just get ill from other humans. Humans can get better can heal from other humans. So let's change the context of the focus, and I think that that'd be pretty beneficial.
Can I jump in here?
Absolutely, sure.
I just wanted to say that, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, COVID-19 is a patented disease, or virus. And a lot of people don't know that, but one of the things that we're going to show a little short clip in a few minutes, but in that video, it talks about patented as opposed to natural. And either one, as far as what was done with this disease or virus, it was illegal. And I'm not going to get into explaining it because it's too complex, too time-consuming, but if you watch the video that we're going to show a little bit later, or a clip of it, you'll get an idea. So I wanted to mention that.
All right. I'd like to suggest something. UV sanitizing. And I know there are pros and cons in discussion about, is it good, is it not good? Is it safe? Is it effective? Is it unhealthful? Well, like anything, in moderation, sucking up UV rays and light is good for sanitizing. And I suggest that you go out and hug a redhead, because redhead has the MC1R gene. It's a recessive gene, and redheads are fortunate to have it, and I'll tell you why. You ever notice how redheads and light-complected people burn in the sun or on the beach? That's because they absorb more UV at a faster rate at a higher density. I think that our Lord may have planned it that way. It's not so much a change of nature, but there's something in that formula. Redheads are also known to produce their own vitamin D, which we know is good for sight and other things in the body. Normally comes from the side and outside, but redheads can produce it without being in the sun. Redheads should not be genetically modified through a vaccine or anything like that, just to make redheads as infective prone or infection prone as others might be.
Right.
So please, take this to friends and talk about it. Give us more to communicate about and find out how much we really have in common. There was a poem by Maya Angelou about humans, and she's right, both racially and really all over the world, that we are more alike than we are unalike. Please look up that poem. It's excellent. We are more alike than we are unalike. So please take that to the bank, because it's the strength of people of all ethnicities. You know, we're really all the same race. We're just different breeds. I just want to say, I don't want to wander, but go ahead.
You know, we become stronger by having people migrate to this country, because they brought diseases, and illnesses, and that's helped our immune system develop all over the planet. But I wanted to, before we get out of time, I did want to show the second clip we have.
It passes quickly, doesn't it?
And it does. And if we show that second clip, well, we'll show it in, it's a 4-minute clip. Check it out, and we'll talk about it when we come back.
On behalf of our center and our partners, the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our audience here in New York, as well as our larger virtual audience participating online today. The Event 201 scenario is fictional. Today's scenario is going to simulate meetings of a multi-stakeholder group called the Pandemic Emergency Board.
We're at the start of what's looking like it will be a severe pandemic. And there are problems emerging that can only be solved by global business and governments working together.
There's been some conspiracy theories that are around about the potential that pharmaceutical companies or the UN have released this for their own benefit.
And maybe this is a time for us to showcase some cases where we are able to bring forward some bad actors and leave it before the courts to decide whether they have actually spread some fake news.
A new coronavirus. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia.
In related news, a significant demand for personal protective equipment like N95 masks and gloves are on the rise. Patients are overwhelming healthcare facilities. People are avoiding public spaces out of fear of infection and in compliance with public health recommendations. Our U.S. affiliate has just released polling results on public expectations for a vaccine, and 65% of those polled are eager to take the vaccine, even if it's experimental.
I'm not optimistic about having the vaccine in time to be relevant during this pandemic.
With enough money and political will, anything is possible.
Penalties have been put in place for spreading harmful falsehoods, including arrests.
If the solution means controlling and reducing access to information, I think it's the right choice.
What exactly are the risks and benefits of staying home from work? Absolutely, we need to save lives, but we literally cannot afford a heavy-handed response that suffocates our economy.
The world saw large-scale protests and in some places riots. This led to violent crackdowns in some countries and even martial law. The public lost trust in their respective administration. Economists say the economic turmoil caused by such a pandemic will last for years. The societal impacts, the loss of faith in government, the distrust of news, and the breakdown of social cohesion could last even longer. We have to ask, did this need to be so bad?
On May 4th, 2020, as part of a documentary series called Plandemic, I released an interview featuring science whistleblower, Dr. Judy Mikovits. The interview received fierce backlash for spreading what the media declared dangerous conspiracy theories. As a father and a veteran media producer, there is no way that I would release harmful information into the world during a moment as vulnerable as now. I had known Dr. Judy for 2 years before filming her interview. I read her book, then thoroughly researched and vetted her story. After interviewing her legal team, former colleagues, and people who have known her for decades, one thing I can say without question is, Judy Mikovits is one of the most honest, caring, and courageous women I've ever known. Why then would the most powerful forces of big tech, politics, media, and medicine go to such extreme measures to silence her voice all over the world? And why did all of the debunkers invest so much ink and airtime defaming Dr. Judy's character while avoiding very real revelations pertaining to patents, conflicts of interest, and the deadly corruption pervading our global health organizations? To get to the bottom of these questions, as well as many others, I've spent the last several weeks interviewing scholars from all over the world, among them top doctors, distinguished scientists, and Nobel laureates. I also sat down with Dr. Judy for a follow-up interview and to give her the opportunity to respond to critics. You can see that full interview on the Plandemic website. While you're there, make sure to dive down the rabbit hole, where you'll find additional videos, documents, and scientific studies that support the claims and perspectives put forth in the Plandemic series.
See what I can do. All right, a couple things that I want to mention. First of all, the corporate entities such as the CDC and the WHO, they're private corporations, mostly funded by the Gates Foundation. They should get off our backs. They should also, these billionaires all over the country, should stop thinking that we're lab rats for them, because we're not. And lab rats have a nasty bite, so be careful. Take that any way you want. Subscribe to this channel. Please pass it along to your friends. People need to wake up. And please watch Plandemic Indoctrination. It's a very enlightening video. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Jim. He'll be back with us next week. And God bless everybody.